Yo guys, it's your boy 𝗬𝗦 here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to increase your FPS on Modern Warfare Warzone, if that's what you want to call it. But there's quite a lot of things that can, it sounds stupid, but there's a lot of things that can drop your FPS by like maybe 20 to 30, and 20 to 30 FPS is quite essential if you're running on 60 to 80 frames, if you know what I mean, because then you get that spike drop, and the game is just huge. And in my opinion, if you want to run it on high quality, you need to have a quite average to decent PC that has a good cooling system and ventilation system in your PC as well, because this game gets your GPU quite hot in my opinion. But let's get straight into it. So first things first, you want to go straight to game mode settings, and you want to go straight over to here. Make sure that's switched off, because that takes up a lot of FPS. Which is literally, all of these are just window optimizers for your PC that they're like game modes, if that makes sense, like sort of hovers over, and that it says that it takes and minimizes actions, but it doesn't. It's a bit shit in my opinion. And then you also want to turn this off, because all of these captures are just a waste of time. It's Windows recording, and there's no point in it. You can literally just download a recorded software, even if you use Streamlabs. But you can, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, GTX, whatever, you can use Shadowplay, and then AMD, they have their own one as well. But make sure all of this is off. They also want to make sure that game bar is off as well, because there's no need for that. All three of these, if you turn them off, you will see quite a high spike in FPS, if you know what I mean. But let's go straight over to the other things. Alright, and nextly, you want to be going to your Discord, and you want to make sure you turn off your overlay where it comes up. So like, turn it off, because otherwise it's just a pain in the ass, and it also takes up FPS. So like, it normally appears in one of these four corners that you can decide. Make sure you turn it off if you want to get the full performance of your computer, because all of these are just not essential. If you're playing Modern Warfare with your mates, then just talk to them in game. There's no point in talking in Discord. Because firstly, I have had so many bad experiences with it, where it's quite laggy, or the actual connection is quite shit. So I just prefer to use Modern Warfare, because most of the time it's good connection, if you know what I mean. But overall, just make sure that's turned off. Let's get straight into the actual game. Okay, so just the more essential stuff. First of all, you want to make sure that you're on full screen, and you want to make sure, because it's been proven that full screen borderless, full screen extended will drop your frames, as it's allowing you to go into your other monitor if you do have another monitor. So personally, stick with full screen. Make sure you have the right monitor. And also another key thing, make sure you are using your GPU, because a lot of people with laptops tend to come on these games and not select their GPU, and they use their CPU, and then that's just, you will have poor quality with that. You also want to make sure that your refresh rate is at the same as what you want it to be. So like 60 is mine, but you might have a 144Hz monitor. And also you want to make sure that this is set, render resolution, blah blah, and then your aspect ratio got to be the same. Another key thing I forgot to point out here, with your render resolution, don't upscale or downscale, because it will become blurry. So make sure it sticks to 920 by 1080, and then you click it to 100 here. Otherwise it will be like really fucking blurry when you apply it. So just stick it to 100, and then there'll be no problem. All of these will help you, because full screen will give you the full FPS that you can, if that makes sense. Also, you want to make sure that VSync is disabled. You don't want it to be causing you problems at all. In my opinion, VSync is wank, but this is my overall opinion. And also, if you guys, another key thing, if you guys have highlights like NVIDIA, then chuck that on. But if you don't have the best of PCs, I wouldn't recommend doing it if you're not going to record at all. Because this will automatically record every kill cam that you get, and any sort of fight you get into. And then you can also, your display gamma, I personally stick it to 2.2 sRGB. That's the best for me. And that's just your gamma overall. And then this is where it mainly starts off. overall, this is the best bit, the details and textures. So if you have 4 gig and above on your VRAM, then go for high. If you have 3, then go normal, and then if you have any lower than that, go low or very low if you like, because you don't want to use up all your VRAM at the end of the day. You don't want a whole game to use your VRAM, otherwise you will have fucking problems. But mine, I'm getting 8, so you know I'm gonna keep mine to high. But particle render and quality, that will happen when there's like a grenade or you're shooting and you see the particles. So if you aren't a fan of that, or you can see quite a lot of problems of lag and, you know, spikes when you're there and that's happening, just turn that off and chuck it to low, because then you won't have as much problems with that. I personally would say turn this off, bullet and impact, because it just adds detail that's got to render in, and it does take away, you know, a couple frames, but them couple frames are very essential. I personally think you should keep tessellation at near, because when you're at all, then it takes away 3% of your FPS, and then if you're at there, then you know there's no problems. But I personally keep it as near because it literally only takes out 1% of your FPS. So that's decent. And then your shadow map resolution, you want to keep that as normal. And all these shadow and lightings, you want to turn them all off, or disabled if you can, because they literally just take up so much FPS. It's unreal. In my opinion, you can't really tell the difference apart from a slight shadow, but there's no point in it. Literally, there is no point. So personally, just turn them all off, and DirectX, you want to turn that off as well, because there's no point in it. It literally is just retracing, and there is no point, because it's just made for the shadows, as you can see at the back, and it has the picture of the shadow. There's no point in it. And then ambient occlusion, you want to turn that all off, and then screen space, you want to turn that off as well, because you don't need it. It's literally just taking up more fucking RAM of your VRAM, so there's no point in it at all. If you turn all these off, these are quite the massive FPS droppers, if that's what you want to call them. They're quite the big ones, because they literally will take up, I would say, between 10% to 20% of your FPS, because they are quite big in the game. There's a lot of shadows in the game overall. But let's move on to the next part. Overall though, these will decrease your FPS from each one, from like especially direct and ambient. They will take away your FPS by like 8%. But yeah, it's quite crap. But depth of field, you want to make sure that's off, because you don't want any blurriness when you're aiming in. As you can see on the right, there's a slight blur, but you don't want that on, because that takes up FPS and it's just a waste. Don't have world motion. It is fucking awful, because when you are moving, it will move as well, and then there'll be like that fucking blur, and it's just awful in my opinion. You don't want that. Although it might look more realistic, you don't want that if you haven't got the best of PCs. And weapon motion, you want to turn off as well, because it is shit again. Another thing, what is that? Please explain to me what that is. Like, you don't need it at all. And field grain, that's all up to you how you want to have it. So like, I normally keep it about 25, which is the default. But it won't really show much difference, although you can see that there. It will just make it more grainy than anything, and you don't want that. You want a quite clear picture. So don't sit there and play with that too much, and film it. And you want to keep this to high as well, on 1%. You don't want that any lower. There's no point. These things won't take up as much, but you don't want to go all low, because otherwise then, you know, there's no point, in my opinion. But that's overall. But overall, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. But a quick little one. If you do want to change these, then you're welcome to. I'm not saying you have to keep them as that. But in my opinion, there's no point in turning them off. You won't even lose a lot of FPS, in my opinion. You'll probably lose about 2 to 3 frames. That's not a lot overall, if you're just keeping 2 things on. But these I will keep at 25 and 1. But hopefully you guys did enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, like, and peace out.